You are now tuning into the Resilient Podcast. Enjoy the show.
Hello, everyone. Welcome back to the Resilient Podcast. This is episode 52. I am your host, Aurelius. Today in studio, we have a very special guest. I told you all that I had a surprise for you all, and this is the end of the month for March. It's also the end of Women's History Month, and this is the reason why I have her in studio today. Today we have in Ysaura Cordero, who is actually someone that I've known for a long time, almost 20 years. And the reason why I'm saying that is because we went to high school together. And, you know, I was leaving high school and she was entering high school, but we were able to see each other. And we haven't spoken since high school. Well, I mean, post high school when she had, started her family and whatnot. And we've always kept in touch on social media. And, you know, everything happens for a reason. So we reconnected recently, and I told you guys about this a little bit. And she's also been talking about it on her social platforms. And the reason why I decided to bring her in today is because I feel like our visions are very aligned. And I would like for her to introduce herself. So to start things off, can you introduce yourself and tell everyone about your podcast, Love, Heal, and Hustle, and let them know what it's all about and let people know who you are?
So my name is Ysaura, and I just started a platform, and the name is Love, Heal, Hustle Podcast. And so pretty much, I know that it's pretty self-explanatory, Love, Heal, Hustle, but it's a little bit deeper. Each word is deeper, and then obviously there's a combination of the three. So love is learning to love yourself and the important and the power in that. And then healing is the importance in becoming aware in the cycles and the emotional cycles, the generational traumas that we're in, and the beliefs that we build around that and how they affect us in our adulthood. And so, hustle, right? Hustle is the legacy and it's the growth. And then I like to say that when you combine the three, that is my little ingredient to life. So.
Yes. Good. So Ysaura, would you like to let people know a little bit of your background?
As far as like I'm Dominican.
Well,
Dominican.
people want to know who you are, so let them know who you are in like a nutshell.
In a nutshell, well, I'm a mom of two beautiful kids, businesswoman, and now the podcast. I'm in the podcast world. Dominican background. I was actually born in Dominican Republic in Santiago. Came to the country when I was 3, and then it all happened from there.
So you've moved, right? You're no longer located in Brooklyn.
No,
Okay.
no, I moved to Jersey. Yeah.
Okay.
I'm
Did you
actually
miss
back in New York though, so I'm happy about that.
Okay. Well, did you
Especially now
miss
starting the podcast. So,
did you miss Brooklyn like, you know, when you moved out to Jersey, or did
oh
you
my God,
enjoy
I
Jersey?
I cried. I cried like every day for a while because you can't take the New York out of us. It's like the energy is just, it's not the same anywhere. It's just not. And it was like such a shock for me. So it's hard. Brooklyn has like such a special place in my heart. I love Brooklyn and I have so many beautiful memories in Brooklyn. So
Of
it's always
course,
nice
you
to
know,
go back.
I mean, over the years, I had forgotten what your voice sounded like because obviously, when you haven't spoken to someone in years and you wasn't even close to them like that, you don't
Hmm.
remember what their voice sounds like at all. So, of
Yeah.
course, when we reconnected and I heard your voice, I was like, of course, very New York, very Brooklyn. You know, you can't fool anybody with that
You
accent
can.
anywhere.
That's
Yeah.
right, you can.
So, we spoke about the podcast and you're stepping
Yeah.
into season 2 of Love, Heal, and Hustle.
Mm.
So, I wanted to ask, what can listeners expect and how has your vision evolved since season 1?
So season one was all about healing, right? Putting in the
Hmm.
work and seeing what were the things that were hindering us from our potential and our and ultimate growth. So, and that's always going to be part of the brand. The healing part, I'm always going to bring that into that's part of the vision for the podcast. But hustle now is stepping into the growth, it's stepping into now we become aware, now we picked up the pieces, now let's build, now let's create a legacy.
Sounds good.
Yeah.
Sounds good. So,
Mhm.
what else can listeners expect in season 2?
Well, so the first guest is actually a financial advisor, wealth management coach, and she's going to be sharing some tips on there and her own personal experience, which also resonates a lot with my story. So
Okay.
that's going to be a very good and telling and knowledgeable episode. And then for the rest of the season, I'm going to have some great entrepreneurs that are doing some amazing things all over New York City, and
Very
yeah,
nice.
they share my vision, and so they're coming on the show and sharing their knowledge and sharing their story.
Sounds good. So,
Yeah.
this episode is centered around the word healing. So, I wanted to ask you,
Mm.
what does healing mean to you in this current season of your life?
Ugh. Healing means becoming aware, because I feel like often we point the finger when, things life doesn't go our way, but it's the importance of also looking internally, and what are the things that are hindering us from creating healthy relationships and building building healthy relationships. Healing is very important. It's part of that, and it's definitely never linear. It's something that, for me, I feel like it never ends. You're always healing, but just becoming aware of the things that have been hindering you across life, and the reasons why you've been held back. Becoming aware that will help you um, become successful in all areas of your life, not just in business, but also in your personal life.
Yeah, I've always felt and I've always believed that um, during the healing process, it's supposed to make you more self aware
Yeah.
of everything and, mindful of
Mm,
any cues that you may have missed, any red flags that you have missed from the past. Because again, we're human beings, we're not perfect.
right.
We learn. I'm a strong believer in we learn something new every day. And
Hmm.
I've always had people that agree with me on that, and there's people that go against it. I'm like, oh,
Absolutely.
I don't think I learned something today. And I was like, believe it or not, you did. Like,
Yeah.
and I always tell people, be open to learn from everyone.
Yes.
Learn from animals
Yes.
as well too. People look at me
Right.
strange when I say that, but I say, you can learn from kids. And people are like, how can you learn from a baby? Babies can't even talk to you. And I was like, trust me, you can learn, certain signs, certain things that they do, gestures. You can also learn from obviously your peers and,
Mm,
the folks that are more elderly than you. And then of course, you can also learn from older people. I love listening to older
right.
people because I feel like
Oh,
older people have the most stories, especially in
yes.
our culture.
And
you
I
know,
mean, hello, they have the years of experience, they have the wisdom. And just recently, I was in the Dominican Republic, and I sat with like three of them. I come across them sometimes, and then I'll just listen to them, and they'll start, giving me their knowledge and sharing their wisdom. And I love to listen because there's always something that I can take from that.
exactly. And the point is, we're not supposed to know everything in life. Like it's just
Yeah.
impossible to know every single thing. And
Mm,
you and I both know people in our lives who swear they know everything or think assume that they know everything in
hmm.
life. And it's
Hmm.
okay. And
Hmm.
it's okay to admit that you didn't know something and you learned something new. For example, when you came to my office about a week ago and we sat down and we spoke about a lot of things, and even some of your episodes that I was able to catch up on from season
Mm,
one, I was able to learn new things. I was able to learn things
I
that I
love
didn't
that.
know was something to begin with. And that's why I
Mm,
always say that it's okay to learn something new every day. There's nothing wrong with that. You can learn from babies, you can learn from children. Children
right.
today, I mean, you have, kids, and we'll get into that in a bit, but I'm sure you're learning from your kids as well too. Like when your kids speak to you, because I'm
Oh
sure they're
yeah.
older enough to talk and tell you whatever it is that they have to share with you, and you're probably
Hmm.
amazed and blown away with it. when you hear from them. So
Absolutely.
learning is part of healing. Healing is
Yes,
part of learning, vice versa. And again, it's all about, becoming more aware of things. So at least
exactly.
you can learn what to tolerate, what not to do again, learn from your mistakes. And that's all that comes with
Become
healing. So,
better, right? Yeah.
yeah. So I'm glad that you understand
Yeah.
what healing means to you. And, thank you for sharing your input and what, healing means to you right now in this current season. So you mentioned entrepreneurship. So, and obviously we've been talking about you being a mom. So I wanted to ask you, as an entrepreneur, a mother, and a woman in business, how do you find balance while continuing to grow and evolve?
How could you find the balance? How could you possibly find the balance? So I say this. I can't sit here and say I'm 100% at all of it, but
Mm-hmm,
I'm intentional and I'm aligned, and so it's all about prioritizing.
mm-hmm,
Because how could you possibly juggle being motherhood and all that comes with that, aside from the responsibilities, but also the emotional responsibility as well, because you have to be there for your children as physically, as much as physically, financially, as emotionally. So then on top of that, you also have then, your corporate job, because that's your livelihood, right? That's right. And then we have now I have the podcast. So it is a lot. So for me, the most important thing is always prioritizing. So it's kind of like a battlefield. Every day in my life, it's literally battlefields of like, okay, this needs to be prioritized over this. And so it's and giving yourself grace and all of that. It's
of course.
okay to say, you know what, I can't do this right now. I'm too overwhelmed. I'm gonna have to, put a pause on this and prioritize this. And even including myself, like even myself, sometimes I need to prioritize myself
Of
and
course.
take a minute to pause and unwind and shut off my minds and pour into myself so that I can continue pouring into everything else that I'm doing. So it's a constant battlefield. So there is not necessarily a balance, but it's definitely doable and it's definitely possible as long as you're constantly prioritizing what's important and pouring into those things.
Exactly. And speaking about prioritizing, like, like you mentioned, prioritizing yourself, but prioritizing yourself first, because you got to make sure that you are okay first. You got to ask yourself that question. Is your Ysaura doing okay? Is your Ysaura fine? So that you can be able to provide for others as well too, because it's all about,
Right.
like, your mental headspace, or where you at the moment. If you're
Exactly.
overwhelmed, if your social battery is down and draining, or you're just, because that happens to me a lot. I possess a lot of
Mm,
energy. People that know me, and I feel like you and I share something in common, is like we possess a lot of high energy.
mm,
We probably wake up first thing in the morning and we can literally have a full-blown conversation about something, and that's completely fine, because a
mm,
lot of people are advanced like that. Some people
mm.
wake up first thing in the morning and they don't want to say a single word until they have their cup of coffee, whatever the case may be.
Yeah.
And that might be us too on certain days, like
I was
on
just gonna
days.
say that. I was just gonna say that. Just like I have those moments where I'm just like, my energy is on here. I'll have my moments though where my energy is like completely dropped.
Because we're human,
So
and
that,
and, and and
right,
and and we're not
exactly.
and we're not gonna have 100% days every single day. You know what I'm saying? I mean, I know there's people that, they like, what are you talking about? My days are 100% every single day. And I was like, it's good to have that mentality. It's good to tell yourself that you are giving
And
yourself
to pour
100%.
and put that
But
into the world, right? Yeah.
exactly. Yeah, exactly. Putting into the work, because it's
Sure.
positive energy. But I tell people we're human beings. And the thing is, we have emotions for a reason. We
Hmm.
have feelings for a reason. Something could have happened the night before or the day before that,
Yeah.
led to us waking up in a different
You don't
mood.
know
And
what
and
someone is
and
going through.
exactly, and that happens. Today precisely for me, when I woke up first thing in the morning, I had done something that I was so excited because I was trying to get it out. I was finally trying to share it with the world, and the reception that I got from it, especially from the people that were part of it, was not what I expected. And I know that from my mentors, my business partner, Maddie Rock, they've always said to me, don't always expect the most out of people, because the
Mm,
minute that you have that expectation, or the minute that you feel that someone is going to reciprocate,
yeah.
and they let you down, you're going to be upset. So, I've always
Yeah.
been, I've been told by a lot of people. I've been told by friends. I've been told by significant others that were actually very in tune and sync with my personality. And they would say things to me like, don't expect you from everybody else.
Yes.
because
And
you
that
know who
was
you
my problem too.
yeah, you know who
So I
you
can
are.
resonate with that.
Exactly. You know who you are as a person, but just because that's who you are doesn't mean everybody else has to be that person. So, this morning when I realized that, the whole energy that I had on this project didn't turn out the way I wanted it, I literally had to, pace myself and pull myself to the side and literally say to myself, you know what, Rob, you did what you did. You know what you did, and you know that you did a very good job, and you know that you went into this full force and you had a lot of energy and you were very
Mhm.
excited. If the people on the other end are not as reciprocal and they're just not as appreciative, that's completely
Yeah.
fine. Doesn't
Right.
necessarily mean cut them off, doesn't necessarily mean don't talk to them anymore, whatever the case may be. Now you know who they are. Now you know who they are,
Exactly.
and you know what their intentions are. So keep, and you mentioned this earlier, the word pour. Keep pouring into those cups that are always going to be, that your own cup is going to be filled back. You're right back.
Mhm.
You know what I'm saying? Because a lot of people fill into your cup like by half, by a few centimeters, whatever the case may be, and they think they did a good job, and then here you are pouring 100% before it even tilts over, it spills over, right? And it's okay, it's fine. The older me, I would get very upset. I would get very emotional. I am a very sensitive person. I have um,
Yeah.
been very vocal about that over the years. I've always spoken about that to friends,
Mm.
women, when I've gone on dates with them for them to get to know me. It's one of the first things I've ever brought up because, again, healing, like you mentioned earlier, you become a little bit aware of certain things. And maybe in the past, when I first started dating, when I was a teenager,
Mhm.
I probably wasn't aware that I was a sensitive person. But as my experiences went by and
Yeah.
time went by and life went by, I realized, hey, I'm a bit sensitive. So I take
Mm.
things a little bit more personal because I know what my intentions are when I do something. And sometimes we'll meet people that are just not, like they're
Not
just
with
not very
the same
exact
intentions.
exactly. They're
They don't
not
have the same intentions.
transparent. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
And
Mhm.
it's all about learning who people are. You don't have
Yeah.
to treat them differently, but at least you know not to give them your all because you don't want to burn yourself out, you know?
Exactly.
Because honestly, you
Exactly.
end up what you end up doing is you end up disappointing yourself, literally yourself, over
Yeah.
someone that is
And
go ahead.
your energy just drops.
Yeah. And the thing is, what you have to realize is that the expectation level has to be a little lower. You know what I'm
Yeah.
saying? Everybody's different. I
Yeah.
have high expectations for a lot of things. Who I mainly have high expectations for is mainly my family because they are my family. And
Mm.
then someone who would consider me a best friend or a friend, right? If I'm a best friend to you, if I'm your friend, like your diehard friend, I'm expecting you not necessarily to move mountains for me, but to have my back, behind in rooms that I'm not a part of, that I
Mhm.
haven't entered. That's what I do. Like
Yeah.
if someone's not present and I think we had this conversation before. If someone's not present and people are talking about them, I will make sure that if obviously what they're talking about is not appropriate or not right, I'll be like, hey, listen, like, if you feel a certain way, why don't you
Yeah.
just wait for them to be present to talk to them about it? You know what I'm saying?
Right.
So that's the type of
Because they're
person
not
that
in the
I
room
am.
to defend themselves also, you know what I mean? That's unfair.
Exactly. So I've always done that. I've always made sure that I looked out for people. I've always
Mm.
spoken highly about people, especially people that treat me good. If you treat me, it's a very simple thing. I mean, some people say that it's not easy, but I'm like, listen, I don't understand the science behind it or the whole mathematics behind it. Like, if someone treats me good, and I know that they treat me good, and they show that you treat me good, I'm gonna treat you good right back. You know.
Reciprocate that. I've always said that. And I've even said that in relationships too. It's not that difficult. I promise. Just treat me correctly. I'll treat you like it's that simple. But unfortunately, some people, like you said, they have different intentions, and sometimes they're looking more of like the benefit of what can they benefit off of you rather than how can together we can collectively, you know, build and so it's but
And in my adult life, I've been dealing with that at an all-time high. Like I've dealt
Mm.
with it almost all my life, but I've been dealing with it more now, like in my prime, because now that I've gotten more engaged with people, now that I'm doing
Mm,
more business than ever, and I'm involved
mm,
in more, I
yeah.
have to sometimes, lead over groups that I'm managing and whatnot. And a lot of people come up to me, and the common situation is sometimes somebody will have a complaint about somebody, like, hey, like, we're all working on this project together, or we're all part of this together, and so
Mhm.
slacking, or whatever the case may be. And I have to have a conversation with everybody. And the whole goal is to, first hear out the first person that's coming up to me. And if the
Mm.
other person that they're talking about comes up to me as well too,
So you're
now
the mediator.
exactly, I try to meet the meter as much as possible.
Yeah.
So I've learned and I've watched and observed over the years how sometimes there's people out in this world who take both sides.
Oh
If you
yeah.
come up to me and you tell me that
Hmm.
you're not happy about this, and then the other person comes up to me, instead of actually saying I heard you and I'm going to address it, accordingly, I'm probably going to be like, oh yeah, when she came up to me, she was complaining too, da 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 da. That's not good. What you say is, okay, I heard your part, and then collectively, I want to get everyone together, everyone involved together, every party together that's not satisfied, and be like, listen, I'm not here to confront you. I'm not here to put you on the spot, but I have you all
Hmm.
together for a reason, because before we leave this room, before we leave this meeting, before we leave this setting, I want my ultimate goal is to make sure that everybody is on the same page.
Mm.
You understand what I'm saying? So that's
Yeah,
what makes a good mediator, and a good
of course. And that's the correct way to handle that.
exactly. And that's why, like, in my business background with my marketing agency, I've had a lot of people that have hired me strictly off of that. Like, hey, can you be our project manager? Because, I have a lot of personalities to deal with, and I got to
Mm.
make sure that there's somebody who knows how to ride the boat, properly and steadily and collectively, because everything I do
And
is
that's not going to
collectively.
create chaos,
Exactly. Because,
you know?
we've been through a lot of chaos already in our lives,
Mm.
and Lord only knows. That's a
No.
conversation for another day.
Oh my God, yes.
But, for my next question, I do want to say, and I told you this before the other day. I think I told you this in
Hmm.
person. I definitely told you this in text, because I remember the day I sent you the text message when you and I crossed paths again. And I was like going through all the stuff that you had been posting and sharing. I was like,
Mm.
she's really got everything on point. Like, from the
Thank
marketing, from the
mm.
advertising, from the
Thank
branding,
you.
she's really invested in herself
Mm.
for this podcast. She's also
Yeah.
invested for everything else. And then when you came over and we spoke, based off our conversation that was like about 2.5 hours, when you
Hmm.
left, I was like, oh man, like, this is crazy. I remember this person as a teenager and a little bit of their adult life, but look at who they are now. I'm very proud
Mm.
of this person. And I told you that. I
Mm.
told you I'm very proud of you.
You had me so emotional.
Because
Yeah.
it's not every day that, obviously, people, the high school that we went to, the kind of people that were at the high school that we went to
Mm.
Fort Hamilton High School, for those that are
Uh,
wondering. And I'm not going to say
yeah.
it's the worst or the best high school in Brooklyn, but listen, if you come out of that school as
It was a lot.
someone,
It was a
you know
lot. It was a
if
lot emotionally. It was a lot. So,
yeah,
yeah.
if you come out of that high school as someone, congratulations. If you come out of there and you don't do anything with yourself, and we've seen people in high school, because we've seen the people from high school, that we see
Hmm.
them now or hear about them now, and we're like, oh wow, look at them, they're doing big things. And then we
Yeah.
see those that are probably not here with us no more, unfortunately, or
Yeah.
they're just
Mm.
lost. They're
Yeah.
lost out there in the real world. And
Mm.
when I saw you, I said to myself, this is crazy. All I remember was going to high school with her, watching her give birth to her first child. Then her and I kind of lost contact. And then all of a sudden she resurfaces, or at least by the time I'm paying attention to what she's currently doing, here she is, boom, businesswoman, podcast, creator.
Mm.
You have a business in the Dominican Republic. I remember you took that
Yeah.
trip out there, a mother of two now, and a boss woman. And you told me personally, oh, I'm thinking about, getting a house in New York City. So I'm like, this is insane. Like, she's getting her own
Yeah.
house, her own house that
Yes.
no one could tell her what to do. So
Mm.
on that subject, because we're talking about Women's History Month,
Mm.
I'm very proud of you as a woman, because I've always told people, and women especially, that we have to be more, men, us, have to be more appreciative of women, because at the end of the day, we're all on this earth because of a woman, because it takes a woman to give birth to us. Two men cannot physically have a child together.
I
Same thing with
love
two
when men
women.
acknowledge these things.
So, Women's History Month is very special to me. And you know mainly that it's because of my grandmother. And I told you about my
Yes.
grandmother's story in person. So we don't need to get into that because I talk a
Yes.
lot about my grandmother on this
Yes.
podcast.
I
And I
know.
know some people
Yeah.
are happy to
I
hear
love
it,
that.
but
I love that you do. No, I love that you do. It's
yeah.
beautiful
So
that you do. You speak so beautiful of her.
of course, because you know, she was my first mentor. She was my first guidance, and she is the reason why I believe in the things that I believe in. You know, I believe in integrity, you know, being successful, you know, being a mediator, being a healer, being resilient, right?
I love that.
And honestly, one of the most important people that I know in my life that have been super resilient has been my grandmother and my mother. You know, I feel like they have been, and you as well too. And we're going to get into that in a bit. But like I said, today is the last day of Women's History Month, and I wanted to ask you, what does it mean to you to be a woman building something of your own, like building your own empire?
Man, Rob, I can go on this for like an hour because it's so deep and profound for me. Um, it's breaking cycles for sure.
Yes,
Even all the way from like simply graduating college.
there you
That's
go.
not, I was the first gen. I am the first gen. And
Wow,
even as closely as owning property, as owning businesses, I am the first. So
wow,
I'm breaking cycles, live on Love Heal Hustle. And I want to show women that. I want to show that they can do things on their own, that you don't have to wait and wait for permission to make things happen. You can make things happen, and women can create legacies too. And that's what I want to
exactly.
show in my podcast and then there's a lot of rawness too. I feel like, so even in the healing part, I show people I'm healing with the show, I'm healing with my audience, and I'm learning with my audience. So I think that that's very important for women to know that they can build legacies just like men can too. If that's, of course, we want men. I'm not, we all want a powerful man besides us to represent us, but if that's not something that's available to us at the moment, then we can pick up the pieces and build something. So,
Yeah. And I've always said this to a lot of my male friends and just men in general. I've always said this to them. A man can be a man can only be as powerful as the woman beside him, you know?
mm,
And a lot of people will be like, "Oh, wow, I love that." And a lot of people are like, "Oh, really? You think so?" I was like, "Yes." I was like, "Trust me. A,
yes,
a man will be more powerful if a woman is more powerful, is just as powerful
yes,
as him, and vice versa. A woman will be as powerful if the man by her side is also as powerful as well too." And this is something that I learned in my last relationship with my ex-girlfriend. The reason why I even started this podcast. I remember when we broke up, there was something about us where she said that she felt weak. She felt
mm,
that I was not, you know, taking the lead enough emotionally to certain things. And that was part of the reason why we broke up. And,
mm,
you know, at in the same like, you know, sentence, she felt like if you can strengthen that, then yeah, I you know,
mm,
and we may not, you know, we may not work out right now because it may not be our season, but you know, you might be
yeah,
the one
and
for
that's
me,
okay.
you know? And
Hmm.
that's how she felt. At least I think that's how she felt at the time. I mean, I don't know if
Yeah,
she still feels that way. I don't know. But it was something that, you know, it's the first time I heard a woman say that to me. So I said to myself, okay, something I want to work on during the healing journey. So,
I love that.
folks, we're going to take a quick break, and we're going to continue this conversation with Ysaura. But before we do, I wanted to give a shout out to one of our sponsors at Nala Health, Victor Melgar, who has the best holistic medicine out in the world. You know, people say it's the best holistic medicine in the U.S., but it's all over the world because I'm hearing so many beautiful stories, people from El Salvador, people from, you know, Spanish America, and all these places around the world. People are doing so well. So right here on the screen, when you visit nalahealth.com and you check out Victor's products, he's got CBD, CBG, CBN, CBC. I don't even think Ysaura knows half of these things, but you know, this
I
is
love you.
yeah, this is stuff that's really taking over the world. And folks, you know, I personally use in your before I even get on this podcast, I use their phytoceutical formulas, you know, for to remain calm. You know, I have one that's called Focus, and focus is very important. It takes away the ADHD for a little bit. It makes me
Mm.
focus on what I need to focus on. Look at your sound over here. So the good thing about it is, like I've always shared with you guys on this podcast, whenever you visit the website, nalahealth.com, when you enter the code at checkout, TRP10 right here on the screen, 10% off your purchase. And not just one time. It's not one time use. It's every single time that you go on that website, use my code TRP10, 10% off your entire purchase, courtesy of listening to the Resilient Podcast. So we're going to take a quick break. When we come back, we'll continue this conversation with Ysaura. All right, and we are back to the Resilient Podcast, episode 52, with Ysaura Cordero. We are still celebrating Women's History Month. Today is the last day. I am so thankful to have her here. Ysaura reached out to me a few months ago. This is how quick things happen. And especially when things are intentional and things are aligned, for your journey and your destiny. Ysaura reached out to me a few months ago out of nowhere. And I told her this. I was very honest with her. And I know she was laughing when I said this to her. But I said, listen, when I first saw that message, I thought you had been hacked. I thought that, because a lot of people have been getting hacked lately.
You're funny.
A lot of people.
It's true. That's true. I
I
mean,
have
all
a
this crazy AI stuff going on. I mean,
Exactly. I have this client that I just helped recover, and then another client out of nowhere comes out of nowhere and says, "Oh, I clicked on this link of somebody that has entered." I'm like, "Yeah, don't click on links. Don't click on links." I'm like, "This is my advice to people
this is
that are
someone
listening."
and not even that. I think.
Yeah, let me address something to everyone. Like for those that are watching here on YouTube, those that are listening on Spotify and every other platform, here's a piece of advice, folks. Whenever someone sends you a link, especially a link on social media, before you even click on anything, whatever, just try to engage with them. Try to make sure that it's actually that person that you know, or if you don't know the person. In my case, I know who Ysaura is, so I could have been like, "Hey, she didn't send me a link, by the way, but she sent me like a long message, which obviously was like, hey, listen, I like what you're doing, and I think our paths align. I want you to be a guest on my podcast." So it took me a few days to just, marinate all of that and make sure it was really her too, because again, a lot of it had to do with the fact that I had not seen her on social media in a while because she had taken like a quick, a brief break. So at least when I approached it, I was like, trying to talk to her about things that I know that only she can answer. So I mentioned high school, I mentioned everything else, and then boom, that's how I knew it was her. Because if it's a hacker, they're not going to know that her and I went to high school. They're not going to know our history. You know what I'm saying? So I'm glad that it wasn't a hacker. I'm glad that it was her. And she offered me to be on her podcast, and I said to her, I would love to be on your podcast, especially after watching all those episodes that I watched. I would love to be on her podcast. I really do. But before we did that, I wanted her on my podcast because I'm honoring Women's History Month. And her and I just, I can't even say the word rekindled because it's not like we had issues in the past, but we just reconnected. And I'm thankful to have her in my life. And here she is. So
I'm honored that you invited me on the show.
Of course. So I wanted to ask you, we're going to get a little personal right now. What advice would you give to other women who are looking to step into their power and start something for themselves, just like you did?
Start now. Start now. There's never a right time. Start now. Execute. That crazy vision that you have in your mind, that big dream that you have in your mind that you think that is not possible, it's possible. I'm here to tell you it's possible. It's possible. It is. So it's all about execution. It's in believing in your vision. Because if you don't believe in your vision and if you're going to sit and wait for 500 people to come support you and support your vision, it's not going to happen. It's not going to happen because for a long time in this journey, it's you clapping for you. So it's about believing in your vision and actually executing. That's all it is. And I think that a lot of it with women, we're emotional beings, right? So I feel like fear is a big part of it, and
Hmm.
confidence,
Yes.
not having that confidence in our capabilities and what we can accomplish. But executing will show you and prove to you that you can accomplish it. You can create big things and you can build legacy. So that's my advice. My advice to younger women is do it. Start now, execute, and learn. Consume as much information and knowledge as possible. I know that young women, we love, and we get so crazy when we're in love and so consumed by love and men. But focusing on yourself and loving yourself and pouring into yourself, obtaining
Yes.
as much knowledge and information as possible.
Yes.
That's
I
my
love that.
my advice. Yeah.
I love that. I love those last few words. They were very right, spot on. And if I may, Ysaura, this advice is not just for women. Even though the question was for women out there, this could also
Mm.
apply to men as well too, to
Yeah.
young boys, young girls. To everybody. You know what I'm saying?
Yes.
And I love that. I love the way you said that. Execution is very big. Pouring into yourself, loving yourself is very, very important.
Mm.
And I want folks to know that. And I talk about that a lot.
Yes.
Once you love yourself, you'll be surprised how much you tolerate and how much you don't tolerate.
Everything shifts. Everything changes the minute that you realize what you're worth.
Yes. So this is the Resilient Podcast. So I want to ask you a
Yes.
question that I ask everybody. What does resilience mean to you personally?
Oh, that's an easy one for me. Life knocks you down 100 times, you get up 100 times. That's what makes you resilient. What are you gonna do with that? Pain, I've always say that pain fuels purpose. So
Mm,
use that as fuel. Let life hit you 100 times. Get up, learn from it, and use it as fuel to create something greater. It's gonna lead you to your purpose.
mm. I love that. Very, very
Yeah.
well answered and very well spoken. I love that. Um, So we're going to talk about healing again
Hmm.
because, this is the subject of the episode. And we've been talking a lot about, you know, loving yourself, pouring into yourself, executing, staying focused. So when it comes to healing, what advice would you give to someone who is currently going through a challenging time?
Be gentle with yourself. Be gentle with yourself, and to understand that healing isn't linear. You're gonna have moments where you're happy, you're great, things are going great, and you're gonna have moments where they feel horrible. But it's all part of the process. It's all part of the healing journey. And we're never gonna feel totally like we completely healed. But I think that eventually we learn to stop tolerating and we become more aware of the things that we don't want to tolerate anymore. And you start to see how that shifts, the energy around you shifts when you walk on that. And when you become aware of yourself and the process that you're in. So that's absolutely my advice. Just be gentle with yourself.
Of course, I like that.
Mm-hmm.
Um, so far, everything we have discussed has really resonated with me a lot with
Mm,
everything that's going on in my personal life. Um, you mentioned earlier, healing with your podcast. I felt that, despite the fact that I do have a therapist that I speak to a few times a week, um, you know, I feel that a lot of my healing has come from my podcast itself.
oh
Like
yeah.
just every subject that I got into, because when I started this podcast,
Yeah.
um, about 2 years ago, right? April 19th, 2024, when I hit record for the first time with my co host at the time, Josh, I was a mess. I was a mess. I was fresh off a breakup, probably like 2.5 weeks into the breakup. Um, and I was lost and I was emotional and I was going through all these things and another failed relationship in my eyes.
Yes.
And I
Mhm.
was like saying to myself, like, what now? Like, what do I do now? How do I survive? How do I get, you know,
Move forward from this.
move exactly? How do I move forward from this? Will I make it to the end of the, literally it was a question I
Mm,
kept asking
I know
myself.
that feeling. Yeah.
Will I make it to the end of the year?
Mm.
Our 1 year anniversary is supposed to come up and we're not even going to be together. by the time that our 1 year anniversary comes. And then another thing that I had planned was the engagement that unfortunately never happened. And I said to myself, I plan to propose to this person this year, you
Yeah.
know? So when that time comes, will I be able to still propose to them? Are we going to be on good terms? And
Mm.
as the year went by, and I
Yeah.
realized that none of those things that I wanted happened the way
Mm.
I wanted. And we don't have control of things sometimes,
Yeah.
especially when it comes to relationship. We
Mm.
for those that believe that they have full control over relationship, we don't. Because the thing is, remember, relationship is two people. And
It takes two to tango.
exactly, it's your intentions, it's your emotions, it's what you want out of life, and then it's the same thing for me. And if those things are not aligned, if we're not on the same path, if we're not on the same page with everything, there's going to be issues. And one of the things that I wanted to do in relationships, which was something new to me because I didn't do it in my previous relationships, but I was able to learn from my mistakes, was I wanted to start learning how to compromise. I wanted to start learning to, with the fact that, okay, I am Rob
Mm.
Aurelius. I know who I am. I know what I want. I know what I tolerate. But if I really love this person, if I really want to be with this person, am I willing to tolerate certain things about them? You know what
Mm.
I'm saying? And also in relationships sometimes, and this could be hit or miss because we can't heal anyone. We can't
Yeah.
we could help people heal, but we can't
We
heal
can
anybody.
try. Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah. We
exactly.
can.
We can't save people. Technically, a lot of people feel like, oh yeah, people are coming to save you. It's not really true. It's more of God and yourself saving yourself. You know what I'm
Mm.
saying? And in this particular relationship, my ex-girlfriend and I, we shared a lot of similarities. And I used to have a lot of anger when I was younger, a lot of anger, especially when I was her age. When I met her, she was 29 when I met her. And when I was 29, I was angry. I was angry. I was angry at a lot of things. I was disappointed. I had anger, severe anger issues. I, eventually, started going back to the gym. I went to kickboxing classes
Mm.
to,
Try to
get
release. Yeah.
exactly, to release a lot of that stuff. When we talked about strength the other day, we talked about, you'll only know how much strength you have until you like have to be in a position where,
Yes. Then when you need to
because
use it.
exactly. And when I met her, and at first everything was sweet and simple, but as I got to know her, I realized that she had anger issues, and I realized that she had a
Mm.
chip on her shoulder.
Mm.
It immediately made me want to be like, hey, listen, I'm here to teach you how I got over things. I'm here to let you know that you're entitled to feel the way you do. It's completely valid, but I want you to know that there's a brighter side to everything. I want you to know
Yeah.
that things can be handled differently. You know what I'm saying?
Yes.
When you're put in a frustrating situation, do you snap on everyone and go berserk, or do you know, realize that something stupid happened, something that you didn't like happened, you process it, you walk away, you give yourself some time, you give yourself grace, and then you
Mm.
revisit the situation eventually and be like, listen, that what happened was uncalled for. It was disrespectful. It was not something that I liked. I didn't appreciate how I was treated. You know what I'm saying? And the old
Yeah.
me, when I used to feel disrespected, I used to want to knock people out. You know what I'm saying? And then I realized, of course, as we got
That
older, there's
reactiveness, right?
there's 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 con- there's consequences to your actions,
Yes.
and I also knew that if I got into an argument with a woman, I couldn't come after her, because if I touched a woman, it would be even worse for me,
Right.
opposed to
Yeah.
me, having a fight with a man. So I definitely didn't want to hit a
Mm.
woman, because it all brought me back to some of the things my mom went through that I saw,
Mm.
some of the things that my grandmother went through. My grandmother was always, treated bad by men, and she was able to live a life where she felt like she didn't need a man, and she was very independent, and she flourished so
Yeah.
much without of support of a man, So I was already aware, and I didn't want to become one of those guys that a woman would say to me to my face, I don't need you. I don't need to depend on you. I always wanted
Mm.
to be a man
That's
that a woman
powerful.
says, yeah, I've always wanted a woman to be able to tell me the words like, I do need you in my life. I do need your
I
support. I
love
do need your
that.
validation.
Yeah.
I do need your, I do need your guidance. Just like
Yes.
I would say it to them as well too. So we're getting close to the end of this episode,
Yeah.
and it like I said, it's been so interesting so far. And before I ask you the final two questions,
Mm-hmm.
I want to give another shout out to another sponsor. And Yasaud, I'm sure you're a coffee lover.
Oh yeah. Oh yes.
So
I have to be.
this next this next plug is for our sponsors at Maddie Rocks Coffee. And it's actually started. The my business partner Maddie Rock is actually out in New Jersey, so I'll definitely see if I can get you a bag of coffee before you leave New
Yeah.
Jersey. But Maddie Rock's
Nice.
coffee is some of the best coffee in America. Especially now with the spring coming in for those that are living in the East Coast. Cold brew season is in and all that stuff. Iced coffee. Folks, some of the best coffee in the world. It's beautiful the way it's made. And if you visit this link right here on the screen, and again, if you once you check out by using my code TRP10, you save 10% off of your purchase just for listening to the Resilient Podcast. Isn't that a beautiful thing?
Hmm.
So for all those coffee lovers out there, don't take please take advantage. And Yasad, I'm gonna make sure that maybe the next time you have a cup of coffee, you're having a cup
Yeah.
of Medi Rock coffee. Um,
Love it.
so we talked a lot about adult life, like everything we're going through
Hmm.
right now. But I recently came across, I think it was actually today, I came across a photo of you when you was younger.
Hmm.
And I was like, every time I see somebody's childhood pictures, it just gets me, And I'm like, look how
It
angelic
gets
they
me
are, look
too.
how sweet.
It
And
does.
obviously, I
Because
didn't know
it's,
you. I
yeah.
didn't know you when you was a child, but I met you when you was a teenager, and I was like, look at her,
Yeah.
look at. I'm like, I wonder if she knew at that time in her life that she was gonna be this big boss
No.
woman one day. So my next question
Yeah.
to you is, looking back,
Mhm.
what would you tell your younger self? Like, what would you tell young Yasaura?
That's that's a hard one. Not because I can't express it, but because it's an emotional one. Um,
Share what you
Jesus.
what you can with us.
I tell her to stop being so hard on herself. I tell her that she's worthy of love, of real love, of peace, and that one day it's all gonna make sense. And it did. It did. It did. It does all make sense. And yeah, that's a tough question. I'm not gonna lie.
Of course.
Yeah.
But
Hmm.
I ask people that a lot. Even when I'm
Yeah.
out with my friends, and I think I mentioned this before. Even when I'm out with my friends, having a random dinner or a drink or whatever, and everything will be going so fine, and then all of a sudden I'll be like, "Hey, what will you tell your younger self?" And they're like,
Oh
"Oh, are you
my God,
serious,
it's
Rob?" Like
just so.
in the middle,
Why
and
you gotta hit it like that? That's a punch to the
I'm a
heart.
Taurus. I'm a Taurus, so we are naturally very random and very spontaneous.
Yeah.
So I tell people,
That's a
listen, I'm a
beautiful
very
question, though.
yeah,
I
and
love
and and,
it.
and sometimes I have people asking me, "What are you thinking all along?" Like we're talking about apples and oranges, and you're over here thinking
Your
about
mind is so
bananas and
deep down
mangoes
the
the
rabbit
entire time. Yeah,
hole, you know? But
and
I
I tell
love
people,
that.
listen, like if I didn't know you, especially as a child, I think it's okay to ask you that question now. I
Of
mean,
course, yeah.
I know what I would tell my younger self, and I haven't discussed that publicly yet, but I eventually will when I'm
Okay.
probably having my own solo podcast or
Okay.
I'm throwing an
Maybe I can
idea.
ask you that. I
There
love
you
you
go.
hustle because
There
that
you
is a love
go.
you hustle question.
There you go, folks. So this might be a spoiler already. This might
Yeah,
be a spoiler alert
right.
as to
Spoiler
one of the
alert.
questions that she's gonna ask me, and let's see if I'm gonna be 100% prepared for it.
Yeah. I mean,
So
I wasn't ready right now, but hey, I give it a shot.
yeah, so Yasaura, we're coming to the end of this episode. I truly appreciate you for taking the time to have this episode with me. I know we tried a few times to schedule it, but with your schedule, my schedule, we finally got it sealed
Yeah.
and done. I'm so thankful for that. And I'm thankful that we're sharing this journey together. It's just the beginning. So
Yes,
like I said, thank you for
totally.
joining. Thank you for being
Thank you for
here.
having me.
Of course, if you would like to, before I ask you this last question, please take the opportunity to plug in where people can find you, the podcast, and
Well, for sure, subscribing to my YouTube channel, Love Heal Hustle,
and the
and
link
I'm
is
gonna
right
be
here.
up. Yes, and my Instagram, which I'm very active on there. And I share a little bit of my personal, my daily life, kind of take you guys on the journey with me. And that's Love Heal Hustle. So
Yes.
all
But
across the
you do have a
platforms, it's
website.
Love Heal. The good thing is that everything is Love Heal Hustle. you know,
Yeah. So you do
it's
have a
all one
website
word.
that people
Yes, I
could
have
find
the
more
web.
information.
I just got the website live. Yeah, so they can
Okay.
also www.lovehealhustle.com. Yes,
There you go. Right here on the screen.
yes.
Great. So, folks, please make sure that you tune in. But before you do, because I recommend people don't just jump into season 2 because it's hot.
Oh yeah, no,
Season
definitely
season 1 is
season
only 4
one.
episodes, if I'm not
It's four
mistaken.
episodes.
So,
Yes,
folks, please take your time,
yes.
like I
It's a
did,
journey.
and listen or watch the first 4
yes,
episodes of season 1 of Love, Heal, Hustle. And then by the time you enter season 2, you'll be
be ready
very
for
aligned with it.
hustle. Yeah.
Exactly. You know what I'm saying? Because,
hmm
you know, I want people to do things in order. So,
Yes, I love
like I
that.
said, um, I'm really proud of you. I don't think I'm ever gonna stop telling you how proud I am of you. Thank you for becoming the person that you are today. Thank you for setting an example for your kids, for your son, and for your daughter. And I hope that with the strength of the Lord that you continue to do these things and that nothing gets in your path, and if it
Amen.
does, it's just a hurdle and you're going to go right
Amen.
over it. And you're going to be
Amen.
resilient and you're going to be
yes.
resilient along the way.
Yes. yes.
So you
God
saw that
willing.
we are finally at the last question. And this is a
Okay.
question I ask every single guest that joins my podcast.
hmm
So finally,
hmm
what is your message to the world and why?
Be kind. Be kind. Be kind. That is as simple as that. You don't know whose life you're changing. Be kind. That's my message to the world. Mm.
And why do you want people to be kind?
Because you don't know whose life you're changing.
Mm-hmm.
And I literally walk on that energy every day. And the energy that you receive back from that, it's so powerful.
Mm-hmm.
So that is absolutely my advice to people. I've seen how it's changed my life personally. Just being kind. It's as simple as that.
I
It's as
love that.
simple as that. You never know what someone is going through.
Exactly. That's true. I tell people that
Yeah,
all the time. And
you
and I
never
and
know.
I love the fact that you said be kind because I want to show you this bracelet that I'm wearing. It literally says be kind. And I wear it every
Stop!
day. I wear it every day
oh my God,
because
talking about alignment, Rob.
yeah, I wear it every single day because again, we are human beings and
yeah.
with everything that's going on in the world today, all this modern stuff that's happening, the wars, the
Yes.
separation, the division, all this nonsense that's happening, everything that's happening at the airport right now, everything that's happening in all these other countries. You don't, like you said, you don't know what somebody's going through. And
Life is hard already.
I was very upset this morning about something that happened to me personally. And when I
hmm
went out, I didn't want to put that energy out to the world because I said to myself, I don't want, if somebody says good morning to me, as pissed off as I am right now, I'm going to say good morning back because it's not their fault what I'm going through.
Mm,
But I wear this because I always want to constantly remind myself,
mm,
even if you are not having a good day, or even if somebody says something negative to you, or does something to you that's negative, or even if somebody, God forbid, cuts you off on the highway. You know what I'm saying? Don't let it lead to road rage. Be
don't
kind.
match that energy. I
Yeah.
reciprocate it all with kindness and love, literally.
There you go.
Every single day it happens. Like I'll have something will happen where someone's reactive or having, and I'll just reciprocate with kindness. And the
There you,
shift, it's like magic, literally like magic.
there you go,
So
folks. Like you can literally reciprocate with love and positivity and being kind, opposed to matching someone's energy like in this, the same way that they're acting towards you. So
exactly, that's
I
growth.
love your message. Thank you for sharing all this information with us. Thank you for letting us know about season 2. I'm so excited for season 2. I'm also excited for possibly my interview during season 2. I mean, I don't know,
Yes,
season 2, season 3, I
I'm
don't know,
excited. I'm
but
excited. I'm
I'm
excited.
excited for it. I haven't been interviewed on a podcast in a while. It's been a few years, but I've actually I know this is your first time being interviewed on a podcast,
It
right?
is. It is. Your
But for
first
me,
blah.
yes, but for me, I've been in podcasts like years. And, I was always one of those people that always said, I'm never going to have a podcast. But look,
You're
2024
doing
came.
amazing. What are you're good at it. I mean, look
Yeah.
at what you've
And
done.
we're getting close to 2 years of the Resilient Podcast. We just celebrated episode 50.
Congratulations.
Thank you. We just celebrated episode 50. And literally, I think it was yesterday. I was in my office and I'm thinking, like, oh my God, what about episode 100? Like,
Oh my God.
how old am I going to
That's
be?
amazing,
And
Rob.
yeah, so I'm thankful for that. I'm really thankful for everything. But
Amazing.
Ysaura, thank you again for your time today. Folks, before we go, I would definitely like to tell everybody the same thing that Ysaura said. Be kind, and not just be kind to folks, but be kind to yourself as well too. Give yourself grace, talk to yourself positively, love yourself more. If you don't love yourself and you don't treat yourself with respect, some people can see through the cracks. They're not going to do it. If you, the people that are meant to be in your life are going to, and this is something my ex-girlfriend said to me when we broke up, the right people are going to be in your life and they're going to naturally gravitate to you because of how you treat yourself. If you're treating yourself like dirt, dirty people are going to be attracted to you. You know what I'm saying? If you treat yourself with love and respect, those great people, and you'll be able to detect like who's who and what their purpose are and whatnot. So folks, this is the end of episode 52. I'm thankful for this episode with Ysaura. We're closing out Women's History Month. On behalf of Ysaura and the Resilient Podcast, I'm your host, Rob Aurelius. Always remain resilient. And again, always remember to love yourself. I'll talk to you all soon. Peace.